If you have a different way that you like to think about solving equations from your previous math class, that is fine, but this is how I'd encourage you to think about it. First, always check for distribution. Then, after you check for that, check and see, can you combine like terms on one side or the other? Then check and see, do you have variables on both sides? If so, you need to move your variables to one side. Then check and see, do you have something, a constant, without a variable that you can add or subtract? And then lastly, is there a number by a variable that you can multiply or divide? First check, do you have distribution? I don't see any parentheses, so no. Now we're going to check and see, can we combine like terms? Look at each side separately. If I look on the left, there's just 12. If I look on the right, I see some like terms here. I see 9x and negative 6x. So step 1, combine like terms, because we do have some. When we combine those, 9x minus 6x, we're going to get 3x. You can't combine negative 12 and 15 because they're on different sides. So if you tried to combine those, that would be incorrect. Next, move your variables to one side. Well, x is only on the right, so we're okay. Now move on to add or subtract. We are going to get rid of this plus 15, so we're going to subtract in a second. So let's get rid of plus 15 by doing minus 15, the inverse. When we do that, these 15s will cancel out because 15 minus 15 is 0. Negative 12 minus 15 is negative 27. And then those get canceled out, so we're just left with 3x. Last step, we're going to multiply or divide. In our case, we're going to divide by 3 because it's being multiplied. And when I divide by it, it'll get rid of it. So divide by 3. And negative 9 equals x. You can check your answer by plugging it back in. What I mean by that is in your original equation where you see an x, put negative 9. And then if you have a calculator, you can literally just type this part into it. When I do that, I'm going to get that equals negative 12. So my sides are equal, and that's the correct answer. Again, first thing, check for distribution. I have some distribution, so you need to do that first. We're going to distribute first, which will get me 2 minus 2x plus 3 equals negative 8. Notice I drew the balancing line down the middle, so I keep my sides separate, because what I do to one side, I need to do to the other. Okay, you distributed. Now check and see, can you combine like terms? Answer, yes. 2 and plus 3. Those are like terms. Negative 2x, there's no more of those, so you can't combine anymore. So combine like terms. And I will get 5 minus 2x equals negative 8. You don't have variables on both sides, so you don't need to move anything. We'll move on to add or subtract. That positive 5 out front means that it's being added. So I know you see the subtraction sign in between, but it's not being subtracted. It's being added. So we'll subtract 5 because it's positive out in front. When we do that, we were left with negative 2x equals negative 13 because it's negative 8 minus 5. All right, last step, multiply or divide. In our case, we are going to divide. Hold up. This looks a heck of a lot like subtraction. It's not, because the negative 2 is right next to the x. That means multiplication please don't get yourself confused there and think, oh, that's subtraction. That is a nice thought, but it's actually multiplication. So you have to divide to undo it. This gives you, you could do this in your calculator and get a nice answer of 6.5, but if you want to make me really happy, you will leave it as positive 13 halves. Either one of these is fine because 6.5 turned out so nicely, but I would rather you do positive 13 halves. It's positive because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Before you start this problem, notice that it's got a -1 being distributed. So that's what we're distributing first, is a -1 to these two terms. Let's go ahead and bring down the 7m and the 25 so we don't confuse ourselves. If I distribute that, I get -2m minus 5. Okay? You distributed. Now check. Can you combine like terms? You can. You've got like terms right here. 7m, -2m, which gets you 5m. Bring down the -5 equals 25. You only have variables on one side, so don't have to move them. We're going to add or subtract. We're going to add 5 because it's being subtracted. New equation is now 5m equals positive 30 because it's 25 plus 5. By the way, this cancels out because it's -5 plus 5. You did the inverse. Now we have 5 times m. To undo that, divide. M is 6. 30 divided by 5 is 6. And these have canceled out because 5 divided by 5 is 1. Last one, you actually have two sets of distribution. You're distributing this 5, which gets us 15 minus 5x. There's a 1 here. And you're distributing the 2. Again, there's a 1 here as well. Well, that gets you plus 2x plus 4. And this all equals 14. Okay, now check and see, can you combine like terms? We've got some like terms. -5x and positive 2x, and 15 and 4. So notice how I'm taking those signs in front. We talked about that when we did distribution. Or we did that when we did combined like terms. 15 plus 4 is 19. -5 plus 2 is -3. So -3x. Okay, let's subtract 19. Because it's positive in front like that, that means it's being added. Now -3x equals 14 minus 19, which is -5. Last step, undo the multiplication by dividing by 3. And you get, okay, you gotta leave your answer as a fraction for me. It's okay. We're going to leave it as positive 5/3. So we're leaving it as basically the same thing as we saw right here. We're just doing negative divided by negative is a positive. And you're done.